Well, welcome to you. Today I'll be talking on communication with your partner. Most of the couples that come to my office, one or both of them would most likely say, when asked, what problem are you here? They say communication. So this is a communication model that I use with a lot of my couples. First off, though, just know that this is a feelings communication model, and it's not a conflict communication model necessarily. In other words, this is what you do before you come together to make a decision about something. Because usually when two people get into a conflict or into a place where one wants one thing and one wants another thing, they can get really, they can hold on to those places really strong. And usually it's because of the feelings that they have underneath it. So usually when you can communicate your feelings and have the other person hear those feelings, okay, I need it to be this way because this is how I feel. And the other person says their feelings and be heard. Then you can come together in a different place where you can understand the other person's side and resolve some of the conflict. So what the steps are is you decide which one wants to go first, and the first person just explains the situation and how they feel. Now, I tell them to try to keep down the communication down to about 3 or 4 sentences. Now, that's difficult for a lot of people, and they usually go, when I tell them that. Because if you ramble on, the other person doesn't even know or forgets what they're responding to. So keep it down to about 3 or 4 sentences and keep it to the feelings. This is how I feel when you say whatever, or when we make this decision. This is how I feel about it. Now, the second person, all they do now is feedback what they heard the other person say. So in other words, they just say, what I heard you saying was, and then verbatim, as much as you can, feed it back. This is what I heard you felt sad when I say X, Y, Z. So you're going to feed it back verbatim. Now, why this is important is because often we don't really hear what the other person is saying. And so it is important that you feed it back until you get it right. So the second person has to feed it back and say, is that correct? And then the first person says, yes, it is correct, or no, it's not correct. And then they correct the person, okay? So we've only done 2 responses then. So after the second person says, okay, this is what I hear you saying, then the second person needs to respond with a feeling. Now, this is where it can get really tricky, because if you get into a defensive mode, you're not going to meet the other person where they need to be met. So in other words, when the other person says, well, the first person says they're sad, and the second person says, well, when you say that you are sad, that makes me feel how? That makes me feel sorry. That makes me feel sad as well. But if you go to the defense, well, that makes me angry because that's not what I meant to say. Then already the communication is broken down. So that's the trickiest part, is finding out what that emotion is for the first person's emotion. So it's meeting the other person emotionally, okay, empathically. Then when the first person feels heard, they can say, okay, now I feel heard. And then the second person can start. So second person has to hold on to their feelings or whatever surrounding that event until it's their turn. Because if they start interjecting it, then they get into a defensive mode. all right? So most couples say this feels really slow, and it is. It's slowing down the communication so that you can really hear not only what the other person is saying, but what they're feeling and what they're saying about their feelings. So it will feel very slow at first. It will feel very mechanical at first, but it really helps when you can meet the other person in that way. You can also say something like, I can see or understand how you could feel that way. But stay as close as you can to feelings and not trying to solve the problem. So if you have a problem, then you solve the problem after that, okay? So I hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for new videos every week. If you would like to hear more information on this subject or any subject, please visit my blog at carolromeo.com.